Welcome to American Restored, the channel where forgotten history is brought back to life. There was a time when America moved to a different rhythm, slower, warmer, and more connected. Life wasn't defined by screens or machines, but by traditions, routines, and objects that carried deep meaning. Everyday items weren't just functional. They were the heartbeat of American homes and communities. They carried stories of love, discipline, laughter, and survival. But as the years passed, many of these treasures slipped quietly into history, waiting to be remembered. So today, let's travel back in time and rediscover 15 lost retro America stories that once shaped daily life across the nation. 1. General stores on Main Street. Before modern supermarkets, the general stores stood at the heart of small towns. Families came for flour, sugar, fabrics, or farming tools, but they stayed for conversation. The storekeeper knew everyone by name, and sometimes even kept tabs for families until payday. The creaky wooden floors, the smell of coffee beans and leather, and the jars of penny candy on the counter made it more than a store. It was the soul of the community. 2. Tin lunch pails. For workers, a tin lunch pail was more than just a container. It was a reminder of home during long shifts in factories, fields, or railroads. Opening it at noon revealed biscuits, pies, or sandwiches lovingly packed by mothers and wives. Children carried smaller pails to school, filled with apples, cookies, and milk. These pails weren't just about food. They were symbols of hard work, care, and a bond between families. 3. Ice cream parlors with marble counters. Neighborhood ice cream parlors were magical places. The marble counters gleamed under soft lights, stools spun freely, and the sound of the soda jerk mixing floats filled the air. Children saved nickels for Sundays, while teenagers gathered after school for sodas and laughter. For families, it was a rare treat that turned ordinary evenings into special memories. Today's fast food chains may serve ice cream, but they can't capture the wonder of those timeless parlors. 4. Cast iron stoves. The cast iron stove was more than an appliance. It was the beating heart of the household. Families gathered around it for warmth on freezing nights, and meals simmered slowly, filling the house with rich aromas. It demanded care, wood to chop, fire to tend, ash to clean. Yet it was dependable, solid, and lasting. In many homes, life revolved around that glowing stove, a steady reminder of comfort and resilience. 5. Sunday church picnics. On Sunday afternoons, entire towns would come together for church picnics. Families spread blankets under shady trees, children played tag, and women laid out homemade pies, fried chicken, and lemonade. These gatherings weren't just about food, they were about unity. People shared stories, music, and laughter, creating bonds that lasted generations. The joy of those summer picnics still lingers in the memories of old photographs and faded hymn books. 6. Wooden school desks with inkwells. Classrooms once had rows of heavy wooden desks, each with a small hole carved for an ink bottle. Children practiced penmanship with quills, careful not to spill ink on their clothes. Many desks carried carved initials, secret notes, or even doodles left by restless students. Those desks weren't just furniture. They were silent witnesses to lessons learned, friendships formed, and the discipline of an earlier age. 7. Radio nights. Before television took over, evenings were spent gathered around the family radio. Fathers adjusted the dials, mothers knitted, and children sat cross-legged, listening to baseball games, comedies, or dramatic mysteries. The warm crackle of the radio created a sense of closeness, turning every broadcast into an event. Families shared not just entertainment, but a ritual, a daily pause from work and worry, united by sound. 8. Penny candy counters. For children, nothing felt more exciting than holding a shiny penny and running to the local store. Behind a glass counter sat jars of gumdrops, licorice, peppermints, and jawbreakers. The shopkeeper would carefully weigh out treats, sometimes adding an extra piece as a gift. These moments taught kids the value of money, patience, and the sweetness of small joys. Today, candy is everywhere, but the magic of the penny counter is gone. 9. Handwritten letters. Long before instant texts and emails, letters were lifelines. A letter from a soldier, a distant cousin, or a traveling child carried not just words, but emotion. People waited weeks for news, treasuring every sentence. Letters were folded carefully, tied with ribbons, and often kept for decades. They were pieces of the sender's heart, proving that love and connection can travel across miles of distance. 10. Community barn dances. In rural America, barns weren't just for farming. They were places of joy. At night, lanterns lit the space, fiddles played, and couples twirled across wooden floors. Neighbors laughed, children clapped, and the sound of boots striking the planks echoed into the night. Barn dances weren't only entertainment. They were symbols of unity, resilience, and the simple pleasures of rural life. 11. Soda fountains at drugstores. Drugstores once had soda fountains where friends gathered for milkshakes, root beer floats, or a cold Coca-Cola. The soda jerk became a familiar face, often memorizing everyone's favorite drink. Teenagers lingered here after school, while adults stopped in for a quick refreshment. These fountains weren't just about soda. They were about friendship, community, and the joy of slowing down in a busy world. 12. Quilting circles. Quilting wasn't just a craft. It was a community event. Women gathered in circles, piecing together scraps of fabric into intricate patterns. With every stitch, they shared stories, advice, and laughter. Finished quilts were more than blankets. They were family heirlooms filled with history, warmth, and love. Each piece of fabric told a story, making quilts silent witnesses of generations past. 13. Drive-in theaters. Drive-in theaters transformed summer nights into unforgettable experiences. Cars lined up under starry skies, families brought blankets and snacks, and giant screens lit up open fields. For teenagers, it was often their first taste of independence. For families, it was an affordable adventure. The smell of popcorn mixed with cool night air made these theaters more magical than any modern cinema. 14. Paperboys on bicycles. Every dawn, small-town streets came alive with the sound of bicycles and newspapers hitting porches. Paperboys braved rain, snow, and summer heat to deliver the morning news. For many, it was their first job, teaching responsibility, discipline, and work ethic. Neighbors recognized the familiar faces of their paperboys, turning a simple routine into a shared part of community life. 15. Family heirloom chests. In many households, cedar or wooden chests sat quietly in bedrooms or attics. Inside were treasures, wedding dresses, love letters, warm medals, or old photographs. Opening one was like stepping back in time, unlocking memories of ancestors long gone. These heirloom chests weren't just storage. They were time capsules, keeping the spirit of families alive through generations. Final thoughts. From tin lunch pails to family heirloom chests, from radio nights to barn dances. These 15 lost retro America stories remind us that life was once slower, simpler, and filled with connection. Though modern technology has replaced many traditions, their legacy survives in memories, antiques, and stories passed down. Which of these retro stories touched your heart, or maybe still lives on in your family? Share with us in the comments. And if you enjoyed this nostalgic journey, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to American Restored, and ring the bell icon so you never miss another trip into the past.